There's a key difference between people who thrive under pressure and those who feel crushed by it. It's not talent, it's not intelligence, it's not luck. It's the way they think about control. Those who remain calm and focused in tough situations have mastered the simple yet profound truth that although you can't control what happens to you, you can always control how you respond to it. This video is about how you can switch to this oh so powerful mindset. I received this comment on one of my videos a while back, and I think it's a really important question. How can we expect to feel calm and happy in a world that's so full of conflict, inequity, prejudice, and abuse? The solution lies in balance, and sorry to say yet another dreaded B word, boundaries. First, I wholeheartedly agree that, quote, turning a blind eye to the suffering of others is not the right approach. But finding ourselves overwhelmed to the point of sickness by worrying about others obviously isn't all that helpful either, for anyone. So there has to be some kind of middle ground. And the way to find that is via the concepts of locus of control and personal responsibility. Today we're going to explore these things in brief before I share the one simple question that can bring all of it together and help you challenge your relationship with challenge. By the way, my name's Hazel Gale. I'm a former therapist turned author and creator of the fantasy mental health game Betwixt. And if you struggle to feel calm, content, or in control in the face of external conflict, then this is for you. Let's start with a quick look at the word responsibility. When we hear this word, we tend to think first of culpability. However, being responsible is not the same as being at fault. Yes, you can and should be held responsible for an error, but there's more to responsibility than just taking the blame. Consider this slightly horrible example. If someone set light to your home and burnt it to the ground, it probably wouldn't be your fault, but it would be your responsibility. Right away, you'd need to call the police, maybe an ambulance, and work out if anyone's in danger. But it doesn't stop there. As time goes on, you also need to make a decision about how you're going to respond internally and emotionally to the disaster. Do you get angry and look for someone or something to blame? Or do you take responsibility for both the external practicalities and your inner world, your emotional health and well-being? Two people could go through exactly the same experience and come out the other side feeling very differently about it. If we choose responsibility, we could even walk away stronger, bolstered by our ability to get through something so utterly horrible. If we relinquish responsibility on the grounds of it not being our fault, however, then we could find ourselves sitting among the charred remains of our homes indefinitely, waiting for someone else to come along and sort things out. So let's break the word down into two halves. Responsibility is the ability to respond. It's about liberation rather than liability, empowerment as opposed to powerlessness. And this brings us to the second focus for this video. If we feel like we may lack this vital ability to respond rather than react, then we probably need to take a look at our locus of control. The study of locus of control focuses on the fundamental level of agency people credit themselves with, and how this affects their choices of behaviour and sense of well-being. The theory examines an important difference between two distinct mindsets. People with a predominantly external locus of control believe that external things, such as circumstance, luck, or the actions of other people, have the ultimate power to influence the way they feel and therefore act. Someone with this perspective may say or think things like, she made me angry, he made me do it, or the weather was horrible, so I was in a bad mood. By presuming that things on the outside have power over us, we teach ourselves that our happiness, success, and health all hinge on fate, luck, and other people's actions, rather than our own. This can lead to a potentially deep and enduring feeling of helplessness, not least because a similar dynamic gets to work on the inside too. While in this mindset, we may put our automatic thoughts and feelings into the external category and assume that they also have complete control over how our days go and our lives go, leading to a sense of powerlessness in relation to our emotions, our urges to engage in habitual behaviours, and any other type of internal process. So where does this unhelpful mindset come from? An external locus of control comes about as a result of resistance, of pushing difficult experiences away. Although I need to point out that we won't necessarily know that we're resisting. Rather than doing this on purpose, our resistance may be a part of a learned defence mechanism born out of trauma or other challenges faced early in life. We're going to talk more about this later. Either way though, consciously or unconsciously, it's normal to try to disown our most uncomfortable thoughts and feelings. But in doing so, we make them other, as if they are external to us. In other words, it's to put them into the place where we believe the power is. Ultimately, our own thoughts and emotions can become monsters in our minds. It's like some kind of terrible inner catch-22. So what's the alternative? People with a predominantly internal locus of control believe that they are the only ones with any real power over their own emotional state, behavioural responses, and overall well-being. This is a perspective that can allow us to escape the trappings of a helplessness mindset and choose a life of autonomy instead, along with potentially better wellness, success, and a whole host of other benefits. For example, research shows that an internal locus of control predicts better health outcomes, work satisfaction, and academic success. Those who see the world in this way suffer less from issues such as performance anxiety and procrastination, as well as substance abuse, struggles with weight loss, and various other aspects of mental and physical wellness. In short, it's a good thing. But before we talk about the how to get hold of an autonomy mindset for ourselves, I need to mention a couple of things. First, locus of control is not a zero-sum game. We won't be entirely one or the other. Rather, it's a continuum, and we can move quite fluidly between the two ends depending on our situation and our personal triggers and limiting beliefs, our emotional state, etc. By the way, there's a note here that says, Teddy, the words below in square brackets, which are as mentioned above, need to only be on the long video. Additionally, as mentioned above, whether we tend towards an internal or external locus of control may have something to do with our early experiences. Studies have shown that when high levels of attention, love, and security are made available during our childhood years, and when we're encouraged by our caregivers to express our feelings and take healthy responsibility for our actions, we will be more likely to develop an internal locus of control. Children who suffer abuse, neglect, or other kinds of trauma, conversely, are more likely to develop an external locus of control. That said, we absolutely do not have to suffer serious abuse during our formative years to find ourselves at the external end of the continuum as adults. This world encourages a helplessness mindset in order to sell us the quick fixes and miracle cures. In many ways, claiming an internal locus of control is tantamount to a quiet act of rebellion. It means saying no to the forces that do actually try to control us, and choosing to prioritize our own needs, values, beliefs, and way of life. In other words, it's not easy. We probably all have certain situations in which we're likely to slip into a helplessness mindset. The good news is that there are ways to guard against this. Choosing an internal locus of control involves a deep appreciation of the fact that even though we cannot control what happens to us, we always have a choice in how we respond to and what meaning we take from our experiences. It all requires and inspires a willingness to begin taking responsibility for our own happiness. Again, this way of life isn't supposed to be easy. An internal locus of control is not the magic answer to a painless existence, but it's almost certainly less painful than the alternative. So let's talk about the how. Changing your perspective takes time and repetition, so I'm not going to suggest that you can walk away from this video a whole new person. However, there are things you can do right away to encourage your mind to begin a process of adopting an autonomy mindset. As a warm-up, you can consider beliefs associated with this empowering perspective. Here are some key examples. I am the only one with any real control over my internal world. I can always choose my response to any situation. I am infinitely more powerful when I choose to take responsibility. And nobody and nothing other than myself can ever make me have a bad day. That last one is stated in the negative, but I like it anyway. Now, I'm not saying that you should repeat these statements in front of a mirror or anything like that, but if you remind yourself of these ideas regularly, perhaps turning to them when you're in challenging situations, your brain will adapt to accommodate them as truths, because that's what it does. But what I really wanted to share here, especially in response to the comment I began this video with, is this. A key difference between those who operate from external and internal loci of control is how much credence and time they give to the things that are beyond their reach. The fact of the matter is that our external environment will never be entirely within the scope of our influence. We cannot control other people's opinions, actions, or well-being. But we don't have to control these things in order to feel okay. Instead, we need to be able to discern the difference between things that require our attention, including the action of worrying, and things that don't. It comes down to adopting this attitude when something isn't playing out exactly the way we'd choose. If I don't like it and I can change it, I will. If I can't change it, then why bother wasting the energy it takes to worry about it? So it's not that we won't care when the political situation is atrocious, or when people we love are going through a hard time. It's not that we won't even notice when the weather's about to ruin our picnic. It's just that we will choose not to let the anger, fear, or disappointment evoked by these things monopolize our thinking and ruin our lives. There's one simple question that someone in an autonomy mindset will be far more likely to ask themselves than anyone stuck at the other end of the continuum. That question is this: is there anything I can do about this right now? The vast majority of things we worry about exist in the realm beyond our control, which means that our worrying serves no purpose beyond self-harm. If we're feeling anxious, resentful, or guilty about something that we cannot rectify or improve, then feeding and sustaining those emotions is a form of self-sabotage. This is true both of the things we can't affect full stop and the things we can't do anything about immediately. To stay up all night worrying about a conversation that needs to happen tomorrow is a form of self-sabotage. Now, it takes a little practice, but when we ask this question and get no as an answer, we need to give ourselves full permission to let go of the issue. My favourite way to do this, especially when some kind of worry is trying to keep me awake at night, is to write it down and throw it in the bin. At times, I just imagine doing this, and that's enough to calm me down. Sometimes, of course, the answer will be yes, there is something I can do about this right now. In these situations, this question helps us to create a habit of taking responsible action, and sooner. Perhaps we need to apologise, make a plan, tell someone the truth, or even change jobs or file for a divorce. None of these things will be easy, but they're what our emotions are urging us to do. Taking action when possible, eventually at least, alleviates the worry. In many situations, we won't be able to solve the problem in its entirety. When it comes to concerns about the state of the world or the suffering of millions of people, of course we can't fix things all on our own. What we may be able to do, though, is sign petitions, donate to charity, volunteer, spread the word, etc. And all of these things can help. So if you're worrying yourself sick about something of this kind, and you're in the position to help in any way at all, work out what's possible and realistic for you, do that thing, and then give yourself permission to release the worry. A note on realism. Just because you could possibly up sticks, move to some faraway war zone and volunteer as a helper, doesn't mean that you have to do that. When you ask yourself this question, your answer needs to feel possible, realistic, and healthy for you too. If any of those things just aren't getting a tick, then it might be a no after all, and that's okay. So, in summary, responsibility is not about blame so much as empowerment. Choosing to take responsibility for your own well-being means letting go of the tempting belief that circumstance, luck, or other people can control your inner world. And the ability to discern the difference between fruitless worry and emotions that are asking for realistic, productive action helps you to let go of the stresses that can otherwise overwhelm your experience of life. Put these ideas to use, and your life will almost certainly change. Good luck.